What is going on, guys? Jesse504 here, bringing you all my UPBA draft analysis. I know the name is similar to the UPA, but it's another standard Wi-Fi league. Nothing too crazy. I did sign up for a bunch of Wi-Fi leagues so I can bring you guys all some content, but this is the only actually standard one, and so you guys will see a couple more in the coming weeks, but we got another standard league here. It is a points-based draft system with 120 points for between 9 or 10 and then 12 mons. And you can only take 2 mons from the top 2 tiers, or top 3 tiers, so 18 through 16 points. You can only have 2 mons. And we were actually given 18th pick out of 20, which is pretty late. As you can see in like the little bottom graphics where your Ann Arbor Accelgors are in the 18th slot for 20-man draft, which is very, very late. I didn't expect any semi-decent mons to fall to me, but as you guys can see, somehow Latios fell all the way to 18. I did not think this was going to happen. I think Latios is like a top 10, maybe top... The latest I should see Latios going in normally would be like maybe like 11th, 12th, 13th pick, and the fact that we got Latios as 18 is nuts. I just used him in the UPA, and I feel like I didn't quite bring out the full Latios potential in a GMAX league, but I feel like in a league without GMAX, Latios is so broken. It's super good, it gets coverage for everything at once, it's got a nice speed tier of 110, I only really need 1 mod to go above it, and then I got good speed tiers for the rest of the draft. It hits really hard from the special side, and so I figured Latios was the way to go. At 18, it was by far the best mon there, in my opinion. And I sort of talked with 2 of the people. There was only 2 people after me, and I was like, yo, I want this next mon. If I pick Latios first, well, neither of you guys snipe it, and neither of them sniped it. So I was really happy that I was able to pair Latios with a mon that I also think should have already been gone. But this one is like more understandable for it falling. I've seen it go pretty early, and I've also seen it go kind of late, and it is none other than Rillaboom. We started both our Fairy Dragon Steel and our Fire Water Grass cores with our first 2 picks. Rillaboom is our second mon from these top tiers, so obviously we won't be getting another one of those mons. However, there's still good mons all around. We get access to some strong U-turn momentum with Rillaboom. Lati obviously has Baton Pass, but at that point you can just call doubles if you're clicking Baton Pass. You can get Break Grassy Glide with Rillaboom. It hits so ridiculously hard, and before your opponent is just nuts. And additionally, firing off strong Wood Hammers is great. Banded Rillaboom, Life Orb Rillaboom, since you get some recovery in the terrain, or even like Miracle Seed Rillaboom. Because you just kind of basically, with Rillaboom, a lot of the weeks, it's where is their grass resist, how do I beat their grass resist so that Rillaboom can win. So mons that like you gotta watch out for, ways to beat fire types, ways to beat steel types, but Rillaboom can kind of beat steel types, it can kind of beat fire types since it does have access to high horsepower. The main thing that Rillaboom cannot touch is flying types. So while I was drafting, I was trying to think of good ways to be able to beat flying types. Obviously, Lati does have coverage for flying types because it has Ice Beam, T-Bolt, so it can hit them, but like Rillaboom, really the only thing it can do is like knock off their boots or U-turn out. It really can't hit flying types that well. But overall, I still think Rillaboom was really good. I didn't expect to be able to get this pairing, but as it drew closer to me, I was like, I really want this pairing, and I got it, which felt really, really nice. Yeah, I think that Latios Rillaboom is going to be a strong, very offensive pairing, which I think plays very well with both me and the 10-minute timer. I think both of those are great things to have. And then up next, we had to wait another very, very long time to get another mon that I really wanted to try. I haven't tried it in a long time, and I haven't tried it on Wi-Fi at all yet. And that is none other than Scizor. Scizor is a great momentum steel type. It has a lot of versatility for a steel type. It has access to defog, although it doesn't have access to rocks, which I also kind of like on my steel types, but it has access to defog, which is good enough. It's got a U-turn. It's got another strong priority option with Bullet Punch. And it can sweep with like SD sets, and it can also just put opponents in the vortex. Because right now we got Rillaboom U-turn and Scizor U-turn trying to get in to mons like Latios. I think that mons these mods together really just work well for trying to win. And I think that just like the momentum core, I really like grabbing momentum, especially stab strong momentum with like a choice band from the Scizor is also really nice. Scizor also has access to reliable recovery, making 2 out of 3 of my mods have reliable recovery, which is really, really nice. Yeah. Also, neither of these mods really hurt by the grassy terrain. We do have a slight fire weakness building up, and kind of an ice weakness, a little bit just from our first 2 picks, and then fire from Rillaboom Scizor. However, the third one will resist both of those 2 types, which is nice. It was just something to keep in mind and really make water types important because they resist both fire and ice. I also wanted to go for a thick fat mod, but unfortunately I couldn't really fit one on the team. However, my next mod was a water. I thought it was a little bit underpriced. Looking at some other leagues tier lists, I've seen this mod up to like 14 points, but down at 12, I figured I wanted to try it. It might have been a little early, but I think I might have sniped 1 or 2 people, which meant that I wouldn't have gotten it back. And it is none other than Gyarados. Gyarados, I feel like is a little bit underexplored in Wi-Fi draft. I haven't seen it drafted since like Pokemon Home League, so pre Isle of Armor decks. I feel like the dex cut has been, it was helpful to Gyarados at the very start, getting it a lot of usage, and then slowly but surely, it's in an awkward position in draft because it's like more of an offensive water where you want to get a second water, but it can also fill like a Spadef or a bulky role. And the addition of heavy duty boots is nice for it. It's got great physical coverage, especially this generation with access to Power Whip, in addition to like Water Stab and Earthquake and Crunch and Fangs. It's pretty good. And it has access to some niche moves in like Taunt and Thunder Fang, or Taunt and Thunder Wave, which are both really cool options for Gyarados. And it even has some random special coverage on the off chance that I have to run it. It has some Flying Stab in the form of Hurricane, which isn't great considering it's a physical attacker, but I'm sure I can make it work in some niche matchup. But anyways, up next, I realized that I needed a secondary water, and so I decided to grab Jellicent. Jellicent, I figured, was a solid secondary water. It was consistent, and it plays the role of defensive water, which I figured was necessary. It is secondary ghost typing, which makes it a little bit susceptible to like ghost and dark type moves. However, I feel like I have answers to at least dark types in the form of Scizor, and I figured just dual water was really helpful for my team, sort of mitigating that ice weakness from earlier, especially considering that Gyarados didn't resist ice. If Gyarados didn't resist ice, I would have been tempted, or if Gyarados did resist ice, I would have been tempted to potentially move on and not pick up a secondary water, but just the fact that I was ice weak made me really need Jellicent, and I figured I've seen Jellicent used pretty well. So why not just grab myself Jellicent here? I knew that I could get it to work in most weeks. As just like a sort of defensive water, it can do its job very well. Additionally, a secondary Ghost Stab is helpful, potentially, and it has access to some surprising coverage, and it also has access to the No Strike Sap, which is a very good recovery move, and recover if my opponent's team is very special oriented. But however, I think that Strength Sap is a very good move, potentially just recovering you all the way up to full. Additionally, weakening the opponent is very good. So up next, we got another one of these pseudo wheel picks, and we decided to pick up Blaziken. I figured Blaziken was really semi-underpriced at 11. I feel like I've seen it up to like 12-13 points. And I kind of just wanted to try it out, mostly. I know that its coverage is good. I wanted a fighting type of special options, because right now my only special offense was Latios and then Jellicent. But I figured Blaziken was a perfect opportunity to access U-turn, perfect Scarfer. Additionally, it has access to a lot of good setup moves. I figured Blaziken just seems like a fantastic option to try out. Good coverage, hits hard, both sides, and I feel like Infernape, this would have been the Infernape draft that could have gone double monkeys. Unfortunately, Infernape isn't in Sword and Shield, otherwise probably would have taken it. It would probably been possibly in those top 3 point tiers though. But that's sort of like a side thing. We're kind of like running low on points. We have 40 points left for up to 6 months, so it's really not that low, but especially considering that a lot of the top point months were gone. But I think that 11 point Blaziken was fine for me. I potentially could have gotten something a little more expensive. However, Mienshao was what I was originally trying to go for, and that got taken, so I figured Blaziken was good. Helps build on that momentum core with Rillaboom, Scizor, now Blaziken. And I figured that was probably a good opportunity, good option. Up next, we had to wait a long time again, and then when it finally came back around to us, I decided to opt for Drapion. Having the T-Spikes option, in addition to being a solid dark type, was what kind of drew me into Drapion. I figured it has good utility with like Taunt and T-Spikes and Whirlwind. It has good potential setup options. I think it has agility, sword stance, and even sniper sets with focus energy. So I figured Drapion might be worth a try offensively, but I think its bread and butter sets, on my team at least, are defensive Drapion sets, where it can sort of just be like a good Phys-Def check. And it's also a necessary ghost check in the meta. And additionally, we aren't ground weak, because we do have Gyarados to kind of, and Latios are immune, Rillaboom is resistant, and it even weakens the Earthquakes, so either they miss prep and they bring Earthquake, or they bring high horsepower, have a chance to miss, slightly weaker move. Doesn't really matter too much, now that high horsepower is wide distribution, but still, forcing high horsepower brings is always nice. It adds even a little bit of an out to the game, potentially. So yeah, Drapion, good pick. Up next, I decided to grab Slurpuff. I figured I wanted my fairy quickly. Slurpuff is a good fairy option, gives me access to potential webs. Webs are just a nice tool to have in general. Really slowing down the opponent's team is sometimes necessary. Also has access to Belly Drum on burn sets, can kind of win on its own potentially if play roughs hit, and it has a Strain Punch for steals and keep itself healthy. So I figured Slurpuff could have that one matchup or two matchups where it runs Belly Drum, but it can also just be like a fat fairy check in the face of like an Urshifu or something like that. I figured Slurpuff was a good option. Additionally, kind of just really finishes off my Fairy Dragon Steel Core, so that I now have that option as well. Fairy type pretty necessary for draft. I opted for Slurpuff. Up next, we decided to go with Aerodactyl. I figured, here's my fast mon, Aerodactyl. Having access to Dragon Dance now is pretty cool for it. Having access to Wing Beat now is pretty cool for it. Why not try Aerodactyl? I didn't really see it get used, really hardly at all, if any, in the first batch of Crown Tundra Wi-Fi leagues, and I figured this second batch, perfect for Aerodactyl. I think Aerodactyl has potential to win games with Dragon Dance. Also, just Sash Rocks is a decent lead option, and it hits decently hard. Obviously, it's no Mega Arrow in standard format, but in Galar decks, I think regular Arrow has potential, especially considering that 130 base speed tier is fantastic for this format. Up next, I decided to grab my StunFisk. StunFisk is a very cheap option, good electric type option, has access to rocks. I really realized I didn't have any rocks because my steel type didn't carry them, so I had to grab some last ditch rockers. StunFisk was that. It has good dual stab, although it is not strong. It's very surprisingly bulky. Static is a cool ability potentially, and access to rocks, like I said. Access to potential water moves like Scald, and then also Toxic to wear things down. I figure StunFisk, a little bit of an underpriced budget option in my opinion. It's nothing amazing. It'll come probably like 2, 3, 4 games, but in those games it comes, it'll be very good. And 4 games is actually quite a lot potentially. Up next, though, we had 11 points for our final two mons because we were able to fit that. And I originally drafted, I don't remember exactly, but I free agented those mons away to end up picking out Steelix. I figured a third rocker wouldn't hurt, a secondary steel type that can fit even more of a defensive role than Scizor also wouldn't hurt. So I figured Steelix was my pick. It's not that crazy, but I figured just a secondary steel type wouldn't hurt. It's a little bit expensive at 7 points for a Steelix, however I had the points to spare, so I decided to go Steelix, and then I also realized a secondary Wish Passer could be cool if Slurpuff wants to fill a more offensive role, and then a Ghost Check is also very necessary in case, like, really the mon that I was worried about was Spectrier. That mon is broken if it gets going. It takes a little bit to get going, but I feel like against this composition, it really has what it needs to get going. We do have Rillaboom, which kind of can beat Spectrier 1v1 with the Grassy Glides, but if it gets going, there's potentially no stopping it, so I figured last Mon, I'll just grab a fat normal type in Kangaskhan. Wish Passer, good coverage, has some offensive presence over Audino, and yeah, that's really about it for Kangaskhan. Yeah, so this is our draft. I really like it. I think that these top Mons, they are really good. I don't know how we managed to get Latios at pick 18. That is stupid. And additionally, we also got a bunch of great Mons after that as well, and some Mons that I really wanted to try. Very well-rounded draft. We ended up picking up a lot of like midpoint options, and with 12 Mons, I feel like we're gonna have unfortunate, but also very fortunate. We're gonna have Mons that we have just good matchups, but we just have too many good Mons with good matchups that we can't bring them all. We're just gonna make building a little bit tougher, but hopefully building for my opponents will be much tougher. But yeah, this is my team, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Please be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts. And yeah, until next time, Jesse504 out. Peace.